Good morning. Welcome to Mayor's Weekly, and as always, we're pleased to be with you this morning. Joining me is our Chief Financial Officer, Kathy Chambless. And this morning we want to talk about special events, not at a particular event, but the mechanics of special events. And what prompted this session is last week was a very interesting week with regard to special events. And the first thing that we want to do is try to lay a little foundation as to how the city has the authority to manage special events, approve special events, and then we'll talk about the mechanics of how you get approved for a special event, and then maybe some of the do's and don'ts, Kathy.
Okay.
But Kathy, Jasper is a political subdivision, and you work up to the state of Alabama, whatever, but the city has full autonomy to run its business, do the things that are customary for a municipality to do, and promulgate rules generally through the passing of ordinances by the city council. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Now, let's talk about an ordinance. We use that term a lot, and I can tell you there's a time in my life when I scratch my head about what does that mean. You hear people in the legal profession talk about the Code of Alabama. Well, the Code of Alabama is encompassed in of course, in technology today, it's still encompassed in a big set of books, but you access it electronically. But what's in the Code of Alabama is all the laws of the state of Alabama. And so you come down to the city of Jasper, and our council, not the mayor, not the clerk or whatever, passes ordinances they see fit to regulate the city. Yes. And Kathy, you and I have talked about this. Maybe back in 2018, the council passed an ordinance relating to special events. Could you touch on that a little bit?
Yes, sir. The Jasper City Council, we started having a lot of events,
Just
which is a great thing. You're right. And so what we decided we needed to do was to set up some guidelines and regulations related to an organization to help organize these events. And so the council did approve a resolution back in 2018 that any event that was going to be held on property of the city or the streets, where streets may need to be closed, you had to get a permit, and that event would have to come before the Jasper City Council to be approved. But it was really a way of providing some organization and so that our street department, our fire department, and our police department, as well as the public, would all have an opportunity to know what that event involved and what was needed for that event.
Kathy, let's try to give a definition to a special event, and you touched on this. It's an activity that happens within the boundaries of the city of Jasper, and that in the boundaries of the city of Jasper encompasses 30 square miles, and, as Kathy pointed out, taking place on city-owned property. Now, Kathy lives west of town. If Kathy wanted to have a family reunion in her front yard, that's none of the city's doing. Now, if she said, well, we're going to have a family parade down a certain street or whatever, that kicks in
This process that we just talked about.
Now, we don't like to talk about this because we never want this to happen to anybody, but there's a penalty side.
There is a penalty side. Any one who doesn't come and get that approved, the event approved by the Jasper City Council, makes the application, gets the event approved, it's always a $500 penalty for a violation.
Pretty big penalty to me.
It is.
And now, Kathy, it would be easy enough to think, well, this just relates to downtown Jasper, but the example that I use, if you're out here if you're on the Holly Grove Road or whatever, if it's on a city street, it's still bound by this ordinance, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Now, one of the things we say, we're not trying to reach out, crisscrossing this city, a certain state and federal highways, I-22. This doesn't apply to I-22.
No,
Somebody, you go somewhere else to the state or whatever. But now let's talk about city-owned property. And that is just exactly what it means, city-owned property. No other political subdivision, individual, whatever, owns any right to that or any what I'd call a proprietary interest. It belongs to the city, and the city council is entrusted to manage that for the residents of this city.
Yes, sir.
So you can't step up and say, well, I'm in another branch of government, so wrong. You know, we don't go out and block county roads or make any demands on things because we don't have any authority to do that.
No,
Am I right?
Yes,
Not
sir.
that. Then, last weekend, I get a call from our police chief on Saturday morning about 9 o'clock. A group of parents, well-intentioned, obviously, set up a roadblock on a busy thoroughfare here in our city to collect money for a youth sports activity. Of course, our police department picked up on that. They handled it the way I'd want it handled, got it dissolved and moved on. No $500 penalty. But touch a little bit on roadblocks and what the ordinance talks about there, Kathy.
Well, inside the city limits of Jasper, there is an ordinance that says you cannot hold a roadblock anywhere inside the city limits.
Purpose has nothing to do with it.
Purpose has nothing to do with it, and obviously it's an issue of safety.
Yeah.
But that ordinance has been on the books for a very, very long time, ever since I can remember.
Yeah. Well, now, Kathy, let's talk about these special events, and I don't mind mentioning this. Jasper Main Street came to us probably a month or so ago, and they wanted to have an event downtown. And they filed their application. We have an application, and our special events coordinator, Kelly Barnes, and a very pleasant person. You enjoy dealing with Kelly. Will gather the information. She'll work with our police department, and then they will come with a recommendation to our council. Now, when the council approves that, let's take this Main Street event. That's not a city event. We're not sponsoring it. We had nothing to do with the content of that, none whatsoever. There may be special events that are approved that maybe a council member, the mayor, we may not, I would say we're not going to tolerate anything that's off color or off base or presents danger to our citizens, but it may be an activity maybe we don't agree with. But so you can't say, well, this is city sponsored, because that's not the case, is it?
No, sir.
We do not sponsor those. I don't think we're under any obligation. This is a public forum where these things, we're not under an obligation to go out and tell the world that somebody's having a parade downtown. I think some of it gets published in the paper, but that's just not a part of it.
No, sir, and I mean, we tried it. We put it on our website, our Facebook page, events, and a lot of times that is to try to give public notice or publicity for that event. But our regulations do not require us to go door to door to businesses or notify any particular individual.
Well, it is extremely important, and if you have questions, if you're thinking about some sort of special event, doesn't cost one penny to call us, come by and see us. We'll get you an application. We'll tell you the rules, and we, quite honestly, we've had some that we could not approve for various reasons, but we make every effort to approve. We had a special event that some years back that the nature of the event and the length of the event called on us to provide a significant number of policemen, which were on overtime, and we couldn't do that. And we said, now, if you want to do it, we'll approve the event, but you're going to have to pay our costs for police officers.
Yes,
so it's not a given if you come here and let's just say if ABC Church was having an event, probably a wholesome event, but if they need to block streets and going to keep them blocked for an extended period of time and needed police protection, whatever, we may have to call on them to cover that cost, right?
Yes, sir, and we do. If the Jasper Police Department says that an officer needs to be present during the hours of that event, then that group, whomever they may be, will bear the cost of pay for those officers.
Right. So we wouldn't want that to be a surprise to you if you have. You know, most of what we see are things that happen downtown, a 5K run,
Right.
something at a couple hours, and that's it. But if you have an interest, need, whatever, have questions, let us work through those on the front end, because we don't want you to get yourself in trouble or cause problems or run up to the day of your event. And we've had some of that. The council doesn't meet every day, twice a month. And people show up on Monday for an event on Friday.
Yeah.
That's too late, isn't
It's
it?
too late.
And what's going to happen, you won't get approval. So do some advanced planning and make sure you can get it to the council, get it to us, we can get it to the council and get it approved in time for you to have your special event. So a lot of information there, and we stand ready to answer your questions about this, but the basis for what we're talking about is a city ordinance that was passed in 2018 that authorizes the administration to look after special events in this city and enforce the rules passed by the council.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, anyway, we want to give you that information. Like I said, last week was a kind of an interesting week with regard to special events. First time we've seen anything like that in a good while, so I told Kathy it's probably timely to talk about that. Now, next week, we're going to give you an update on our efforts to build a pickleball course, whatever you might want to call it. Pickleball is a recreational opportunity. It reaches to the age spectrum for the very young folks, the senior citizens, that really growing in popularity. We are working, we're approved the bid package to go out, and we'll give you an overview of where we're at, what we think we might be able to do down the road. I think it's a given we're going to do something but we had to start somewhere with a bid package for that. So I won't get too much into that. So if you have an interest in pickleball, Kathy will join me and we'll give you an overview on that. Good to be with you this morning, and we'll look forward to talking with you about pickleball next week.